Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show. And I hope you're okay after the bore fest in the World Cup, which was Belgium-Iran. I am glad I didn't watch the game because I had a feeling it'd be bad, and from what I heard, it was bad. I saw like 5 minutes of the game, and it didn't look entertaining in the 5 minutes that I saw. But Manchester United, obviously, if you're not aware, reports came out about 2 days ago that Tottenham in for Matheus Fernandez and close to being personal terms with Matheus Fernandez and could hijack the deal. Manchester United, Matheus Fernandez, not heard much in the last week. 10 days ago it's reported we're going to put a bid in, and we haven't. It's moving very, very slowly. And there's now suggestions that Tottenham could hijack the deal, which could be a massive George Mendes play to try and get Manchester United to speed up, get the deal to move along. West Ham have a deadline of June 30th, and West Ham could be panicking and worrying that they're going to have to lower the price tag. But Manchester United are now looking at other midfielders. They've now opened talks with Alex Scott again and made an inquiry. Felix Nmecha set to be available for 52 million price tag revealed. He's on United's list. Camavinga-Tchouaméni being monitored. Baleba also being monitored. Manchester Bergvall could be one that appears as he wants to leave Tottenham. What's particularly interesting is all of a sudden Manchester United are looking at other midfielders, and that's not to say we're going to walk away from Matheus Fernandez, but all of a sudden we're having some looks, we're having some talks, we're still inquiring about other midfielders. Is this part of United's playbook to play West Ham? Do United feel like West Ham are playing them by saying he's close to joining Tottenham? And Man United saying, well, we're going to play you back. We're going to look at other midfielders unless the price comes down. Interestingly, Fabrizio Romano did mention that Liverpool inquired about Matheus Fernandez a couple of weeks ago, learnt the price and walked away. PSG and Real Madrid have interested in Matheus Fernandez, but they're not interested in paying the 80 million price. Liverpool aren't interested in paying the 80 million price. Tottenham apparently are willing to. But then could that be a West Ham game to speed Man United up? Man United looking at Mbeumo and going, you know what? Matheus Fernandez wants us. West Ham got to sell by June 30th. Can we get the price down? Or are United looking at other midfielders, other alternatives? Because I want to talk about Felix Nmecha, Bergvall, Camavinga and Tchouaméni in today's video. But also some interesting reports have come out on Alex Scott tonight about United re-inquiring. Could that mean something? We've been linked to Nmecha before. We've been linked to Nmecha like last summer, and what put us off was his injury issues as well. I'll tell you guys right now, if we don't get Nmecha or Tchouaméni, might as well write off next season. Well, it depends who we get. If we don't get Nmecha or Tchouaméni, but we get Matheus Fernandez and Baleba, I don't think that's bad at all. My mindset is, Wadi I like, Alex Scott I like, Matheus Fernandez I like, Tchouaméni I like, Nmecha I like. Those 5 midfielders I very much like. And I think if we signed 2 of those 5 midfielders, I am okay. Ideally, those 2 would be Matheus Fernandez and Tchouaméni. I'm open to Nmecha as long as he can get over his injury issues. I'm open to Wadi, but he's very young and very raw, and we already have Maino. I'm open to Bergvall. Actually, Bergvall, but I want one midfielder that's more experienced, that's a 6, and then one younger midfielder. Now, that younger midfielder could be Wadi, it could be Alex Scott, it could be Matheus Fernandez, it could be Lucas Bergvall, and then I want someone that is a little bit more established, and that's where I would look at the Nmechas, and that's where I'd look at the Tchouaménis. But ideally, 2 of the players that I've just named would be good for us. Now, we are looking at other midfielders. We've been linked to loads of midfielders, and we've been linked to loads of midfielders because, one, we want to sign 3 midfielders this summer, so Ederson, Matheus Fernandez, and 1 more, and we could just be doing the work on the 1 more. That said, I still think we're going to do Ederson, Matheus Fernandez. If we don't go for Matheus Fernandez, we're looking at these names that I'm going to mention as alternatives, maybe Alex Scott, maybe Nmecha. And then I think after that, we're going to wait to see the situation with Real Madrid and go for Tchouaméni late. Also, we're looking at Somerville. I'm hoping that Manchester United, after Ederson, signed 2 more midfielders, one being Matheus Fernandez, the other being Tchouaméni, a left back and a left wing. That's what I'm hoping happens. We shall see. It all feels slow. It all feels passive. It all feels like we're not showing enough ambition. Pre-season is a month away, and I understand that frustration. But it is June 21st. The season doesn't start for 2 months. There's still a lot of time left in the transfer window. But with Tottenham moving, ready to spend 80 plus million on Tonali, ready to outbid us for Matheus Fernandez, got Van Heck, got Senesi. It's like, we came 3rd place. Pep's leaving. Carrick showed potential. We've got a chance to build something. And I don't know if you find this, but I find whenever Man United aren't in the Champions League, we have better windows. We fail to qualify for the Champions League, we have a good window. We get back in the Champions League, oh, they're happy we're in the Champions League, we're Champions League level, then the ambition dries up and they don't want to spend as much. And I'm worried, like the last time we were in the Champions League, we had a window with Onana, Mount and Højlund. I'm worried it's going to be a Champions League window because every Champions League window we've had has been atrocious. I'm sorry, whenever we have our best transfer windows when we're not in the Champions League, it's like we're scared, we need to get back in the Champions League. We get back in the Champions League and we disappoint the manager. And I am worried we're going to disappoint Carrick, but it is early days. Ground Nmecha covers, pace work rate was unreal last night. Nmecha was unbelievable, and he has been all season. Look, I've never had an issue with Felix Nmecha. I've spoken about him a lot on my channel. My only issue has been injuries. Like I've always said, I like the player. The injuries put me off. Like he's very technically good. The ground he covers is immense. There's definitely a good player there. Nmecha stats. Let me get his numbers up this season. I think this season he's sort of come back from injury and stayed fit. So this season, Felix Nmecha has played. I'm trying to see how many minutes he's played this season. It's not coming up how many minutes he's played this season. Why are you not coming up? Load. I don't know. He's had less injury issues this season. He's had a lot less injury issues this season, but his minutes per season aren't coming up, which is annoying. 4 weeks with nothing. Do you think West Ham will cave? I think West Ham will cave unless Matheus Fernandez is genuinely interested in joining Tottenham and other clubs that aren't Man United and would genuinely... Like, I think if Matheus Fernandez pushes to them and goes, it's only Man United, then they will cave. But then I am worried because we took our time with Mbeumo. We took 8 weeks of Mbeumo to get the price tag down, and we ended up paying the same amount. Now, United was saying, yeah, we ended up paying the same amount, but we ended up paying the same amount over 4 years and not the 2 years that Brentford wanted, and maybe that was what it was. But every time we take time on a deal to get the price down, I feel like we never get the price down. Bergvall hasn't put in a transfer request yet. He won't go for anything less than 50 million. We're going to look at Lucas Bergvall in that situation there. Nmecha is better than Tonali and debatably Anderson. I think Nmecha, if Nmecha's £52 million and Tonali's £85 million, Nmecha is easily the better deal. Reminds me a bit of Pogba if Pogba was quicker, more disciplined, high work rate. I get what you mean in terms of, I think, his physical stature, but he just covers ground to a different level. Nmecha has the size, height, and physicality we lack. Absolutely. But let's get into the news. Let's get into the stories on Felix Nmecha. Then I want to get into Camavinga news, Tchouaméni news, Bergvall news, and more. So, let me get this up on the screen. Manchester United continue to monitor Borussia Dortmund midfielder Felix Nmecha, who's open to leaving Borussia Dortmund this summer with a return to England seen as a realistic option. Although he has no release clause until 2027, a deal could be possible for around £52 million. Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United and City have all been informed about his situation and reportedly open to considering a move. So reports are coming out from a good German source that were open to making a move for Nmecha, and we've been informed, and it's kind of been revealed, that his price tag will be around £52 million. If Nmecha can stay fit, £52 million is a good deal. However, if he doesn't stay fit, it's not a great deal. But Felix Nmecha, £52 million, that price tag's been revealed. Felix Nmecha is open to going to England. Man United are open to Nmecha. I don't want to be negative, but I do look at like this and I go, why do we sign Edison? And I don't want to sound negative. But I'm going, like, say we get Matheus Fernandez and Tchouaméni, yeah, and then we have to choose a third midfielder. In a world of Mamadou Sangare, in a world where Lucas Bergvall could be available, in a world where Felix Nmecha could be available, I do question why we move so quick with Edison. And that's not to be negative about Edison. Like, cool, he's experienced, he's come in and he can cover ground. But I'm surprised we didn't go for Felix Nmecha instead, with how much better he is. Maybe it's the injuries, how much younger he is. He's obviously better on the ball. Look, I don't know what we're going to do in midfield, but we need three midfielders. And Edison, he's fine as a third-choice midfielder, but I would have preferred Mamadou Sangare as a third-choice midfielder. I would have preferred Nmecha as a third-choice midfielder, who probably is good enough to be a second or first-choice midfielder. Now, I'd be honest, Matheus Fernandez, Nmecha, and Tchouaméni would be an insane midfield rebuild. Matheus Fernandez and Nmecha, I'm very much open to if we can't get Tchouaméni, but I think my focus would be Tchouaméni for his defensive ability, Matheus Fernandez, and if you cannot get Tchouaméni, I would look at someone like Felix Nmecha. If he's £52 million as well, and well where Tonali is £85 million, Anderson £120 million, I think that's a good price tag. I think the only issue and the only risk is his injuries. You know, I think the Premier League market is ridiculous. All these Premier League players are going to cost way too much money. And as much as I think we need 1 to 2 Premier League proven midfielders, I think right now, if you can just get one Premier League proven midfielder in Matheus Fernandez, maybe look elsewhere. We can get a Premier League proven left back in Lewis Hall, hopefully. I don't think we'll get him. We can get a Premier League proven player in Matheus Fernandez. And then you know what? We just look abroad for the third midfielder at the Bundesliga, at someone like Felix Nmecha, who's got the physical capabilities to be fine in the Prem. Left wing, we look all over. I think we need a mixture of Premier League players because they bring experience and you know what you get with Cunha and Mbumo. But also it's good to look abroad with Sesko and Lamons. I think if half can be Prem players, if half are non-Prem players, I think that's a good split in the transfer window. Not everyone from the Prem because Prem players are going to be overpriced, but some of the core key players from the Premier League that you know will come in and make an instant impact. Why has no one bid for Sangare? I don't know. Maybe it's just one to watch. Maybe one club makes a bid and others make their move. He's been linked to a few top clubs, but I think United are working on Matheus Fernandez, and then are just sort of thinking what's happened with Tchouaméni. But I wouldn't be shocked if there's more Mamadou Sangare links soon. You've also got to remember it's only the 21st of June. Like, I think one of the reasons nothing's really happened with someone like Mamadou Sangare or Alex Scott or other players yet is most clubs can't spend till July. Obviously everyone has to comply by a certain amount by June 30th. So most clubs can't spend till July 31st, till 1st of July. So I think once it gets to the 1st of July, I think the transfers will really heat up. But a lot of people cannot do anything till the 1st of July. So I think that's one thing to remember. I want types like Cunha and Mbumo Sesko who would have turned down better offers for us. Yeah, for me, Matheus Fernandez is our Cunha type player that we could sign. I think a Nmecha could be a Sesko type player if we're looking at Bundesliga comes to the Prem. But I wouldn't say Ederson's an Mbumo. I say Tchouaméni would be the Mbumo, where not everyone's favourite player stylistically, but you know what you get. Matheus Fernandez would be the Cunha, the Matheus, the vibe, the aesthetics, and then Nmecha would be this Bundesliga talent like the Sesko. I would have gone Tchouaméni, Nmecha, Matheus Fernandez. That midfield three would be nuts. But we've got Ederson in the door, and hopefully Ederson does end up being a good signing for us. Agate is expected to leave. He's actually been linked to AC Milan, but I think that's purely because Ruben Amorim has gone there. I actually don't think Ruben Amorim has any intention of reuniting with Agate. He barely played Agate by the end of it as well. Ederson and right-back quality, especially on the ball, I do as well. Madrid fans don't like Tchouaméni, but Tchouaméni's been asked to play centre-back. Tchouaméni's been asked to play centre-back for large parts of Madrid over the last year or so with the injuries they've had, so yeah. Njai on the wing, he wants us should be guaranteed. I like Iliman Njai. I think the only thing that might put us off him is he's not necessarily a touchline winger, and I think maybe Carrick wants someone to hold the whip, whereas Njai, he's a bit more of a winger than Cunha is, but he likes to come inside and you need a real overlapping fullback for that. That said, I do like Njai. For me, look, I'm just looking at I'm going, get Matheus Fernandez done. After Matheus Fernandez, look at Tchouaméni, look at Nmecha, get another proven good level midfielder that we know is proven. I don't want a youngster. As much as I like Bergvall, I think if you get Matheus Fernandez, I would want someone a bit more proven. See if we can get Lewis Hall, and then we go for left wing and we look at Njai, we look at Somerville, we look at Nusa. That sort of mindset, my mindset. If Xerxes goes, then you look at other strikers out there. You could look at Undav, who scored that really good goal for Germany, obviously at Stuttgart. We can look at the striker market potentially if Xerxes goes. I think centre-back and defence is going to be a big 2027 window. But Felix Nmecha, it's been revealed he's available for £52 million. If he stays fit, that is a good deal. I think he's a good player. There has been links with Boadi. But I think the links with Boadi is a journalist making out for clicks. We haven't been linked to Boadi by Romano or Ornstein. It's Boadi has a good game for Morocco. All of a sudden, random tier 3 level journalist links him to Man United. Random tier 2 level journalist links him to Man United. It's almost like he's had a good game. Man United need a midfielder. Man United fans would like him. I'm going to write a report that he's one of the 20 midfielders on Man United's list. I'm sure Boadi is on a list somewhere. And I'm sure Boadi has come up in conversations. It would be ridiculous for him not to. But the current links to Boadi almost feel like journalists are looking for a story. He said a good game from Morocco. Let's say he's a Man United target. I think he's on a list, but I don't think he's as high up the list as Baleba, Alex Scott, Matheus Fernandez. I think Nmecha is even above him. Camavinga, Tchouaméni. But I think he's on a list, and as the World Cup progresses, he could go further up that list. If we miss out on Matheus Fernandez, he could go further up on that list. I think Diallo will come good next season. It annoys me how many people write him off as well. The latest on Matheus Fernandez is, Man United are confident. Man United believe they can get the deal over the line, but they're also looking at alternatives in case they can't. Ederson was used at right back for Brazil for his last game, so I'm not going to judge him for that as well. Madrid fans are 50-50 on Tchouaméni because he does the basics at a very high level. They just want a Rodri type player. Tchouaméni does what you want off the ball. I think there's areas he could improve on the ball in terms of, We'll talk about Matheus Fernandez, we'll talk about Bergvall, we'll talk about others. So Ben Jacobs gave an update today on Matheus Fernandez. Manchester United have made Matheus Fernandez their top midfield target, but talks with West Ham are ongoing. The 80 to 85 million is a valuation that West Ham have set. United are now assessing alternatives with Sander Berge and Carlos Baleba under consideration. I don't want it to be a situation where Tottenham get Tonali and Matheus Fernandez and we end up with Sander Berge and Ederson, because I think Tottenham will finish above us next season if that happens, and I don't want to be negative. They also have one game a week. Look, I think we get Matheus Fernandez. I think we get it done. Ben Jacobs is saying we're looking at Sander Berge, we're looking at Carlos Baleba. There's also a good report coming out that we've inquired about Alex Scott tonight. I think George Mendes is playing a game with Man United and Man United are playing a game back. From what I've heard from good people in the space, Man United are confident. Man United still believe they can get the Matheus Fernandez deal done. They're confident internally. That's what I'm hearing from people in the space. United aren't concerned. That said, Real Madrid weren't concerned. We went in for Lenny Euro and we got him. George Mendes pushed for him to go to us because we're willing to pay more than Real Madrid, and Tottenham willing to pay more than us. So things could go wrong. But yeah. United now came out and said we very recently had talks of Alex Scott's reps. Matheus is still the priority, but Scott's one to keep an eye out on. He's moved up the list. So we are still having conversations with our Matheus alternatives. And I think United are just preparing just in case. But the word inside Man United is we still believe we can get Matheus Fernandez, and they don't seem too worried about Spurs. I think they think it's a George Mendes game. But that said, even if United aren't worried about Spurs, they should not use that as an excuse to fuck about. Newcastle fucked about with the Munoz deal, over £3-4 million, and he went to Liverpool. Man United should not fuck about with the Matheus Fernandez deal. They should make their first bid. They should make their first move. The player's obviously given the green light that he wants to join, but this is Manchester United. Thank you very much to Baller, who's been a member for a month. Berge, Baleba, Ederson, may as well keep a guy for vibes. It would just be very uninspiring if they were the three midfielders we signed. I see it's Hull away Saturday, 12:30 live kickoff. I hate a 12:30 kickoff. And Hull's first game back in the Premier League for a long time. That's going to be nasty. This is going to be like a cup final for Hull. Yeah, that's going to be nasty. Are we going to miss out on Fernandez? I don't think we're going to miss out on Fernandez. Despite these links to other players, I think we think George Mendes is playing a game, so we're going to play a game back and look like we're looking at other midfielders, and we're not super bothered about Matheus to try and get the price down. I still think we get Matheus Fernandez until word comes out that he agrees personal terms with Spurs from Romano or Ornstein. I'm going to believe we get Matheus Fernandez until we get a Romano or Ornstein update that makes me believe otherwise. It makes me believe he's really about to join Spurs. Talking of Spurs, obviously Lucas Bergvall. Lucas Bergvall informs Tottenham Hotspur of preference to seek a new challenge elsewhere. The 20-year-old midfielder is a target by clubs in the Premier League plus Europe. Tottenham are aware of his wish to leave this summer for a fresh start. Bergvall reminds me of Maino. Now, very different players actually in the way they play. Well, not very different in the way they play. But the way he reminds me of Maino was Bergvall's first season at Tottenham, he was phenomenal. He was phenomenal in his first season at Tottenham, and he ended up getting Tottenham Hotspur Player of the Season, which wasn't hard for a team that finished 17th. But, you know, he was their Player of the Season. He was very good, and it's still a good achievement to get. Like, he was the standout player in the Premier League for them as they were shambles by the Europa League. Like Maino came through. We had that really poor season on Ten Hag. But we won a trophy at the end of it. We won the FA Cup. Who was big for us that season? Maino. He came through. We won the FA Cup, even though we came 8th in the league and had a bad season in the league. Maino was the star. Maino was the star. We fell in love with Maino. Bergvall was the star for Tottenham. They had a crap league season, but they won the Europa League. But Bergvall was the star. He was the youngster that came through. Then all of a sudden, Ange gets sacked. Thomas Frank comes in. Bergvall plays a few games, and he plays well in those games. He then gets injured. He can't really get back in the team. Tottenham bring in Conor Gallagher. They got Basuma. They got Benteke. They got Palinha. They got a million deeper players. They got Archie Gray. And Bergvall can't find himself in the team. He's had injuries. Thomas Frank stopped playing him. Tudor comes in. He's not playing him. He's not a De Zerbi-coded midfielder either. And I think De Zerbi, looking at not just Tonali, but Tonali and Matheus Fernandez, says to me that De Zerbi is willing to sell Bergvall to make way for that. What I've learned about Tottenham is Vuskovic and Bergvall can make way for Senesi and Van Heck, two defenders that are more experienced and are more proven in the Prem, and Bergvall can make way for Tonali and Matheus Fernandez. I think that's Tottenham's plan of, we've got so many youngsters, we need experience, we need proven now. The youngsters aren't going to lift us up out of relegation, which I disagree with. I think Tottenham should keep Lucas Bergvall, unless De Zerbi's not going to play him. Because I look at that and I go, we almost sold Maino, Amrin went, and we've realised how good Maino is. I think Lucas Bergvall is very much if you get a manager in Tottenham that likes Lucas Bergvall and would play him a lot, he could be £100 million player. He's like Maino. I think he's kind of stocks have dropped the last year. He's not playing because of the manager. And obviously, if Amaro had stayed, we've had to get rid of Maino. But we've noticed with Amaro gone how good Maino is. And I saw how good Bergvall was on the end. That I do feel that Bergvall would be good for Manchester United. That said, I think if we get Matheus Fernandez, the next step wouldn't be Bergvall. It would be a Felix Nmecha. It would be a Tchouaméni, because I think we lack experience. And Bergvall is relatively experienced. He's played in the Premier League for a little bit. I do like Bergvall. For the right price, I'd do it. I'm a big fan of his. But for me, it's almost like Matheus Fernandez and Nmecha, or Matheus Fernandez and Tchouaméni for me. Bergvall would just be a good addition to that. But also, he wants guaranteed minutes. And does he get guaranteed minutes at United? Who knows? I'm just scrolling down. Uninspiring but great depth. I wouldn't say it's uninspiring, but I would say it's someone that is still raw and young. And I think United just need a bit more proven. I'd assume he'd be in the £50 million mark, to be honest, but we shall see. He is good on the ball. However, my biggest criticism of Bergvall is he can give the ball away. Sometimes he can hold onto it for too long, but I think that's part of his age, and I think that could get coached out of him. But yeah, Metcha's side pace and passing would work well next to Kobe. Yeah, Bergvall I can't see being able to play with Kobe. I think him and Kobe would rotate. Whereas Nmecha I could see playing with Kobe. Ederson would play with Kobe. Nmecha would play with Kobe. Matheus Fernandez can play with Kobe, but also rotate with Kobe. Whereas Bergvall I think is someone that I don't see him working with Kobe in a two-man midfield. They're both ball carriers more than ball passers as well. But yeah, I do like Bergvall. And if Man United sign him for the right price, I'm not against it. But I'd probably go if we can't get Tchouaméni, Matheus and Nmecha. If we can get Tchouaméni, Matheus and Tchouaméni, I want someone that's a little bit more proven, a little bit more experienced, because I think we learned with Cunha and Mbumo how important proven is. You know, Chelsea brought in Gittins Garnacho. Chelsea only spent a little bit less than us on attack. Gittins Garnacho, Delap and João Pedro cost a little bit less than Cunha and Mbumo and Sesko. No, it cost the same. And João Pedro was great. So Delap wasn't experienced. He had one season in the Prem. Garnacho was young and raw. Gittins was young and raw. Yeah. João Pedro had experience. Chelsea spent the same on their 4 attackers as we did on our 3 attackers. But Cunha and Mbumo had experience. Sesko didn't. You know, Gittins didn't have experience. Garnacho was young and raw. Delap was young and raw. Only João Pedro had experience. Only João Pedro stepped up. Cunha and Mbumo stepped up. So my mindset is Bergvall's really good, but he's young and raw. Nmecha is proven. And I think United have realised, we went for proven in Cunha and Mbumo. Chelsea went for raw and Delap. Gittins Garnacho, Chelsea gone from 4th to 10th. We've gone from 15th to 3rd. I think we've realised, okay, we need a few proven players. And I think someone like a Tchouaméni or a Nmecha is more proven than a Bergvall, if that makes sense. I want someone more ready. Ederson and Kobe together, I suspect that could be painful to watch. Too safe passing between those two. I'm not the biggest fan of Ederson, but he's our player now, and I'm just going to try and support him. But I'm not the biggest fan of the deal. Nmecha would need to be a now deal, but we continue to hold on. Maybe deals like Tchouaméni and Tonali. But I don't think Nmecha is going to move anywhere until after the World Cup. So I don't think it needs to happen now. I think it is. See if we can get Fernandez done in these coming weeks by June 30th. Get into, mid-July. Germany get knocked out of the World Cup. We find out if Real Madrid are really interested in selling Tchouaméni or not. If they're not going to sell Tchouaméni, you go for Nmecha. If they are going to sell Tchouaméni, you wait and see what happens there. Because if they are going to sell Tchouaméni, we're front of the queue. While Alice is chatting, Spurs have put a 70 million bid in for Fernandez, have they? Let's see. Where are you getting this news from? I've not seen anything about Spurs bid for Fernandez. So I'll be interested to hear where you got this news from. Let me look at the Tottenham news sites, because I've only got the Man United news sites up here. What are the Tottenham news sites saying? The last thing that's said on the Tottenham news site was Bergvall by Ornstein. Let me try another Tottenham news site. No, I'm not. I'm looking at Tottenham news, mate, and I can't see anything about 70 million bid, unless you're reading someone unreliable. Everyone reliable. I'm looking at the reliable accounts, and nothing's been said that Tottenham have made a bid. The last thing that was said was that Matheus Fernandez is believed to love living in London. That's the last thing that was said. It was also said that Tottenham would want a fee of around 45 million to sell Bergvall, which I think I'd do that, to be honest. But I haven't seen anything about a 70 million bid. But if I do, I'll let you know. But I was just reading the Spurs site, so it could, if it's an Indie Cala or someone, they're probably lying. Sean on Spurs talk show. Is Sean credible though, or is he just a YouTuber? Like, has he got sources? I don't know who Sean is, so I couldn't tell you that. But I can't see any aggregators posting it, and I can't see anyone reliable saying it. So we shall see. It said we're ready to offer 70 million, but no bid. That makes more sense. I think Tottenham are ready to offer 70 million, and I think that's probably true. I think Man United don't want to offer 60 million, but I think Manchester United are going to have to pay up and do a deal for 70 million because it's West Ham just don't want to budge. I think Man United are going to have to do the deal for 70 million. I understand not wanting to do 80. I think Man United should just pay up 70 million. Daily Mail. So, yeah, no one top tiers reported a bid. It is Tottenham like him, Man United like him. He, is a kind of verbally agreed personal terms with Man United, but could now agree personal terms with Spurs, which would give West Ham the bidding all they want. The one thing is Tottenham are willing to pay more upfront for us than us for Matheus Fernandez, and West Ham might prefer that Tottenham are willing to give more upfront. That said, West Ham fans would be more annoyed if they sold to Spurs than Man United, so West Ham fans wouldn't want him to go to Spurs. I do think Man United get Matheus Fernandez, but I do have concerns because of Ineos and how slow they are. But I think 70 million is not too bad. Yan Diamonde is going to be 100 million, Anderson 120 million, Tonali is going to be probably 80, 85 million. I think 70 million for Matheus Fernandez. You take it. It's annoying because West Ham are relegated and you think you could get him for less. But it's also like we need to crack on and get this midfielder over the line. There's a reason PSG and Real Madrid like him. Spurs can make a bid anyway, but Matheus still hasn't chose them over us. Yeah. Newcastle made a bid for Sesko and it didn't work. Newcastle actually bidded 5 million more than us for Sesko, but Sesko wanted us, so 100%. Spurs got the Champions League money last season and are splurging it to try and get back up the table. But we've got Champions League money this season, but we seem to be acting broke, so I don't know what the situation is with that. Getting Tonali on 90 million and Fernandez for 65, 70 million is great for us. If Spurs pull off Tonali and Matheus Fernandez and we end up with Edison and Berge, wow, I would lose my mind. I actually think Yan Diamonde is worth 80 million when I look at the winger market. His 5 out of 10 performances are other people's 8 out of 10 performances, and I agree. Listen, people, I didn't want this live show to be super long. I just wanted to get through the news. I just wanted to get through the stories. But Man United are looking at Nmecha. Man United like Nmecha, 52 million deal revealed there. Things could develop after the World Cup. Bergvall's one to keep an eye on. Tchouaméni Camavinga, of course, wants to keep an eye on. But Wadi, maybe something will happen there. We shall see. It was said that Real Madrid are open to selling Tchouaméni and Camavinga this summer, according to Dia Rizea. They will not sell Valverde. There has been a lot of reports that Real Madrid are open to selling Camavinga, so that's going to be a big one to watch. But we'll see what happens with Matheus Fernandez. We'll see what happens in the coming weeks of the transfer windows. But yes, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you everyone for watching. Bye.